So we're here to discuss the final part of Black Eyed Susans.
Didn't quite go the way I expected.
Really, not me either. Spoiler alert. I was just absolutely baffled that someone who is a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever he was could do that and be that evil. And then, of course, her friend.
That was the part that I really, like I said in our earlier
I thought
video,
he was creepy.
I thought he was creepy, and to the point where I was like, is this really? Because I could see that, I could see a serial killer being like, you're blind, you don't know that you're talking to me, and I think this is really, this is great. I could see that mentality. But I thought, well, surely when she got her eyesight back, maybe she would know. But then I guess she didn't have her memory, so she didn't know. So that part didn't shock me really. I was kind of prepped for that. What got me was he'd been dead all that time. That I was not expecting.
Yeah. And I knew something had gone terribly wrong when her friend just disappeared. Like literally just disappeared. But then, of course, when you find out that she became pregnant by him, and I think her friend is like crazier almost than the doctor, because she kept that like bloody shirt for 9 to 20 years.
Well, it turns out she was Fruit Loops all along. I mean,
well, yeah, like totally Fruit Loops, but I mean, yeah. She might have been scarier than the doctor, quite frankly.
I don't know. He was pretty scary.
Well, he was pretty scary, but she was sneaky scary.
Yeah, thinking that, there's so much more to your best friend in a negative way. You don't realize all this time that they're a few fries short of a Happy Meal.
Yeah. Well, I just kept looking at that thinking, here he was thinking, oh, I'm going to take her out here and murder her, my pregnant girlfriend. And all the time, he was actually, I guess it's where he was so sure of himself.
Yeah. And I did kind of like that, his victim killed him. His last attempt victim. That part I like. It was just, that she allowed her friend to be tormented by this whole thing for so many years. And thinking all this time and perpetuating the myth that he's going to come back and get her. Not to mention allowing this guy to be on death row all these years.
Yeah.
I mean, but now she's like, oh, it's my time in the spotlight. I will save him. And, and everybody be looking at me, and Tessa's like, you go, chick. Just leave me alone.
Just please, Lord, don't come back. You just, I just don't even know what you say to that.
No.
And that's the truth. I don't know what you say to some of the stuff that went on in the last part of that book. I would have been, if I had been Tessa, I would have been terrified.
Well, yeah. I mean, when she came back over and her daughter and the neighbor were, and the neighbor, of course, has dementia. And so she wasn't paying any attention to all these things that she was saying. And it turned out she should have. And there was Lydia. And you're sitting there thinking, oh, God, it's a hostage situation. I mean, it's what I thought. When she's walking in and I'm like, oh, crap.
I wasn't sure what was going to happen at that point. I was just sitting there thinking, how could your person that you hung out with almost all day long, every day, 7 days a week, be so demented and you don't know it?
Yeah.
Now, I realize that 16-year-old girls are not really the most observant. I acknowledge that. She should have had a blip somewhere at some point that her friend was that demented. And just to disappear. So her whole family just disappears. Which, of course, leads Lydia to think that the murderer has got her too. And she felt guilty about it all these years. I mean, there's so much guilt associated with her family's action of actually leaving.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just kind of scary.
It really is. And I guess the point is, how little anybody really knows somebody. But I don't know. It was just, makes me reflect on, there were times when I was a girl, either elementary school or high school, when somebody would do something, it would seem like it would come out of the blue and just completely blindside me, that they felt so strongly in a negative way about something, and they had been repressing it all that time and never saying anything. So I guess I could kind of relate to that a little bit, being going, huh? Now, in this case, these people weren't crazy, but they were hiding things from you, hiding how they felt about things, and not giving you any idea that they had resentment. Even with, like, one of my roommates in college. Now, in her defense, she got pushed out of the room that she was in. My roommate didn't show up. They had assigned me a roommate who never showed up, so I roomed back by myself. And there were 3 in a room. And so they were like, okay, can somebody from the 3 in a room share your room that way, because the rooms were only set up for 2, really. Just they added a bunk bed. And she got pushed out because they were supposed to do some sort of drawing lots or something other. Well, 2 of the girls had bonded, and even though one of those got the one that was supposed to move, because those 2 girls liked each other, they decided that she wasn't going to move, and the other one was. And she was so timid about her, uncertain about, because she was a freshman, about getting pushed out again. She never let me know how much it irritated her when I did little things, like, because there was only one place for me to plug my toaster up in the morning, I would plug it up, and it turned out it was on her side of the desk, which I've never been territorial about my stuff, so I didn't realize it was over some invisible line. And she would come in the evening, and she would, and she never mentioned it. And it wasn't until after we got out of there, her cousin told me that was driving her crazy. And I was like, why did she say something? I wouldn't have done it. So, it's little things like that you're going, people are weird.
I will go as far as to say all of us are a little weird about the things that irritate us. And I would say there's a good portion of people out there who don't express every single thing that's getting on their nerves. And sometimes you don't express it to the point where all of a sudden a snowflake makes you blow up.
Yeah.
And I think that's normal. These people in this book are not normal.
No, not
It's not even normal stress. It's just they're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Tessa, who should be kind of nutsoid, if that's a word, or a little nutty,
she's
pretty much more normal than any of the other characters in this book.
Yeah, I mean, I think she is
other than her daughter, of course.
Yes, her daughter's
perfectly normal.
Absolutely. But, yeah, Tessa...
And by normal, I don't mean... I mean at least sane. I don't mean it as a slam. It's just slang.
They're both... It's just they're both well-adjusted and considering everything that Tessa's been through, I think her mental health is in excellent shape.
Yes.
Yes, she has some issues, but they're minor compared to what they should be by all rights. Considering all that she went through, I think she's handling everything really well. I think she's a very strong person. And, I don't think I would be in that good a shape if such things happened to me.
No. Kind of, no.
So,
probably not.
But, that's the thing about Lydia is that apparently before all this happened, she was teetering on the edge of some sort of psychotic break, I think. And I think sleeping with a serial killer pushed her over.
Yeah, probably. I can see that. That'd be a problem.
Yeah, especially.
Although I will say, overall, this book was very good. I found it to be a pretty. I'm not sure I would call it a thriller. I think it's more a psychological suspense type book. So hopefully people will get out there and read this one.